16 mugshot.
Be quiet, listen.
MSNBC were retards, what is it?
Desire to be manly men.
I don't know, I'm just making the up.
We need to create black media.
Oh my.
Don't know about protection against infection.
Muppet clip, go. What is up, person on the other side of the internet? I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. It is September 9th, 2025. We are live streaming on Rumble, on Locals, on YouTube. You've already subscribed. You've tapped the notification bell, so I'm not going to ask you anything. However, if you do live in Australia, I will be in you in about a month from now. That's right. You can get tickets to our shows in Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane at daverubin.com/events. Special guests, koalas, pandas. Are there pandas in Australia? That's more of a China thing. I don't know. Maybe we can get a panda to come, kangaroos, etc., etc. And we got a thick, big show for you with some breaking news that's just happening over the last 20 minutes or so. So let's just dive right in. Just in the last hour or so, and it just broke moments after that, Israel has struck the Hamas leadership in Doha, Qatar. Everyone has known that all of the Hamas leaders, many of whom are billionaires, as their own people live in squalor via their own doing. They've been staying at luxury hotels in Qatar. We've allowed them to do it. Well, it looks like their day has come. Here's a quick video of Israel striking Doha, Qatar, and a secret, I guess not that secret, a kind of secret meeting that the leaders of Qatar were having. I should say leaders of Hamas, not leaders of Qatar, although there might be a little back and forth there. So yes, Israel has already accepted and taken responsibility from this. This from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Today's action against the top terrorist chieftains of Hamas was a wholly independent Israeli operation. Israel initiated it, Israel conducted it, and Israel takes full responsibility. And you might be wondering, well, who are these guys? Who are these guys having this secret meeting? A bunch of billionaires? Maybe they were just hanging out, enjoying the morning buffet at the Mandarin Oriental Hotel in Doha. Who knows? Well, here they are celebrating immediately after October 7th.
سجدة الشكر إن شاء الله على هذا النصر اللهم أتم نصرك وعزك يا رب لشعبنا وأمتنا الله أكبر.
Ironically, that is a position that they will be living in for the remainder of their time on Earth, just not breathing. Interestingly, so it's unclear how many of them were killed. It's possible that it was all of them, that they got everybody. It's a little unclear, but I'm not going to comment on exactly who was killed yet because the dust is settling literally. The most interesting part of this is this, because Donald Trump yesterday on Truth Social posted this. Everyone wants the hostages home. Everyone wants this war to end. The Israelis have accepted my terms. It is time for Hamas to accept as well. I have warned Hamas about the consequences of not accepting. This is my last warning. There will not be another one. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. Well, they did not accept. They decided to have a meeting to come back with certain conditions. Yada, yada, yada. Most of them, if not all of them, are dead. Obviously, there will be way more on this, so let's just put a pin in that for now, and let's pick up where we left off yesterday. The major story in America right now, which actually is becoming, it's interesting to say it's a major story, as I always talk about. There's things that happen online that don't make it to mainstream that can be major stories, and you're just waiting, right? We're always waiting. Is the mainstream ever going to cover it? Are they going to ever cover it so that it can really become a major story? Well, it has finally happened. This, of course, is the incident of the 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee, beautiful young woman who was murdered in cold blood for no apparent reason by, I would say, a genuine psychopath on a bus in Charlotte. And what the media now is doing, as the video broke, it went crazy online, everyone was talking about it. You know, we know it doesn't fit the intersectional calculator because it's a white victim, black perpetrator, the Ukraine thing confuses it, all of that stuff. The media finally started covering it because they looked so profoundly ridiculous, ignoring a story that, had it been the other way racially, they'd be going crazy about. So what are they doing as they cover it? Well, they're basically making this about how racist MAGA media is using it as a cudgel over them. Here is a man who looks like a potato, who I did not think about once during August. Yes, it's a man who also got fired by CNN, then brought back by CNN, and in between his firing and brought back, he was a journalism professor at Harvard, because irony is dead, Brian Stelter.
This one's garnered attention for a couple of reasons. Number one, first and foremost, the recent release of that gruesome video. Second, the energy from pro-Trump activists. They picked up on this video from local news and ran with it. It's a little bit like the times when civil rights groups have raised attention about police-involved shootings. In this case, it is Trump-aligned influencers who are posting up a storm about this case on social media. Really, over the weekend, Elon Musk, Charlie Kirk, other Trump-aligned figures succeeded in making this senseless death a symbol of big city crime. And it's being used, as you said, Brianna, as a political symbol, with MAGA media calling for more forceful punishments and more incarceration. I have to say, some of the replies to Musk, some of the comments around this story are baldly racist, stoking fear of African Americans because this man attacked a white woman. The open racism on sites like X today, it's eye-popping.
All right, I wrote down 3 options for what I'm going to call Stelter now. Just fucking idiot. You're just a fucking idiot, man. You're just a fucking idiot. I know that was the easiest of the 3, but I'm going to pace myself as I come back, as I said the other day. Yes, you moron. Okay, this has garnered attention because the video finally came out. Yes, when video of an innocent woman being murdered by someone, regardless actually of the race of either of the people, when that comes out, people do respond to it. I know you like to hide things because you're a journalist, but video came out and we responded to it. That was number 1. Then it was Trump-aligned influencers. Well, I suppose that is true. Charlie Kirk, we've got a couple of tweets from him we're going to read. He did talk about it. I talked about it. A whole bunch of people talked about it. Why didn't you talk about it? Why is a white woman being killed for no reason in a big American city by a black man not interesting to you? The only reason I'm mentioning the race there is because you're hiding it for racial purposes, not us. But since Stelter, you useless potato, since you mentioned Charlie Kirk, here's a tweet by Charlie Kirk. And just tell me if this is you, what person watching this, tell me, is this right or wrong what Charlie is saying here? If a random white person simply walked up to and stabbed a nice, law-abiding black person for no reason, it would be an apocalyptically huge national story used to impose sweeping political changes on the whole country. Now, is that true or false? It is obviously true. It is obviously true. When a fentanyl dealer was killed by a police officer, we launched into BLM, a year-long burning down of cities, giant money laundering operation that the entire machine was all about. This girl, you people did not want to talk about at all. My friend Will Kane over on Fox, where they were covering this before we had to drag Potato Man and his friends into it, I thought made quite a good point.
Now, why would that be? Why would one story demand 100 articles and another story 0 articles? And it's because the media is more interested in the all capitals story, the narrative, than the facts or the truth. Take a look at the difference here. I want to show you the actual truth when it comes to crime. The story is about race. Race. Take a look at the black on white crimes, 385,000 in 2023. The white on black crimes, just under 118,000. You see the comparative numerical difference. But now, here's what the media actually does. They did what our camera operator just began to do a moment ago. I'm going to step out of the way. I'm going to show you literally what the media does with a camera. They zoom in on this number. This number, devoid of context,
Bingo, Will. That's it. And what's interesting now, as the thing that I'm always talking about the ascendancy of the alt media and the crumbling of the mainstream media, although Will does do that on Fox, and Fox obviously does a way better job than the other ones. As these things come like this, what he's doing a nice job of right there is what I try to do here every day, show you some of the tricks, right? What is fake news? It's not just the headline doesn't match the story, as I always talk about. It's that when they hide things, well, now they're trickery. We're going to show you a number with no context, and you're going to start freaking out. Oh, you pan the camera this way, and you see the number's double going if we just reverse the races. So what we are up to right now, the moment in the movie we're in right now, is when the curtain is being pulled back, and it is not the great and all-powerful Oz. It's just an old wizard with weird pants and a crazy mustache. That's it. Listen to this from Western Lensman on Twitter. Meanwhile, trash legacy media is most upset about the, quote, firestorm of people daring to talk about it. And look at the headline here from the New York Times, which is not worth the paper it's printed on. A gruesome murder in North Carolina ignites a firestorm on the right. Yes, that's the headline. Security footage capturing the unprovoked stabbing in Charlotte became an accelerant for conservative arguments about the perceived failings of Democrat policies. Connor, leave that there for a second. It's not perceived failings, it's real failings, true failings. Failings are when people are murdered for no reason on public buses. Go back to it one more time, because the other part, you see what they're doing there. This is a very clever trick. Security footage capturing unprovoked stabbing. Okay, so that is right. But then they finish the sentence with the part that they want you to focus on. In Charlotte became an accelerant for conservative arguments. So they're taking the truth, and in one sentence, they can trick you into thinking, well, something happened, but it's not that's not the woman being murdered. That's not the thing you should be upset about. What should you be upset about? Oh, it's the accelerant of those mean people who are talking about it. And it continues. This from Axios, which has turned into a complete crap factory. The gruesome video of the fatal knife attack on Iryna Zarutska on a light rail car in Charlotte is drawing attention from MAGA influencers seeking to elevate the issue of violent urban crime and accuse mainstream media of undercovering shocking cases. Yes, you guys did not cover it until we all started talking about it. But again, why didn't you talk about it? If it had been the other way, you'd be screaming about it. And the implication is that MAGA media would not be covering it. If there was video of a random white person on a bus stabbing a beautiful young black girl for no reason, do you think I would be ignoring that story? Like, nothing they say is true. It is absolutely, it's incredible and yet obvious at the same time. Here's the headline from Politico when they finally were forced into covering it. Ukrainian refugee killed in North Carolina gets dragged into political messaging war. President Donald Trump and MAGA allies are using the killings of Iryna Zarutska to attack Democrats. Leave that one up again for a moment because it's rather extraordinary because their use or not use of punctuation. Ukrainian refugee in North Carolina gets dragged into political messaging war. How about Ukrainian refugee killed in North Carolina? Period. And that's the story. And then if somewhere deep in the article you want to talk about how the fight has now erupted online, that would be something. But they did the same exact thing. We'll tell you now. They forced us to tell you about the death. But really within the same sentence, we want to show you how this is about the war online or the evil MAGA influencers or whatever. Now listen to this from former governor of North Carolina. This is from Politico. His name is Roy Cooper, so here we go. Kate Smart, a spokesperson for Cooper's campaign, called the attack a heartbreaking, despicable act of evil and accused Whatley of lying again because he knows his support for federal policies that cut local and state law enforcement funding in North Carolina is wrong. Roy Cooper knows North Carolinians need to be safe in their communities. He spent his career persecuting violent criminals and drug dealers, increasing the penalties for violence against law enforcement, and keeping thousands of criminals off the streets and behind bars. However, listen to this from Greg Price as it pertains to Roy Cooper. Same guy who established an entire task force after George Floyd to demonize police now offers only a quote from his spokesman buried in a Politico story for a woman murdered by a repeat offender. So you get what he did there. The former governor, Roy Cooper, it's not that the statement was terrible, but when it went the other way, when this was about George Floyd, it was like, wow, we are going to upend everything we know, and we're going to all talk about defunding the police, and we're going to allow mayhem and everything else. When it's a white woman killed by a black guy, it's just a simple statement about law and order from a spokesman. Here's current governor of North Carolina, Josh Stein. I am heartbroken for the family of Iryna Zarutska, who lost their loved one to this senseless act of violence, and I am appalled by the footage of her murder. We need more cops on the beat to keep people safe. That's why my budget calls for more funding to hire more well-trained police officers. I call upon the legislature to pass my law enforcement recruitment and retention packages to address vacancies in our state and local agencies so they can stop these horrific crimes and hold violent criminals accountable. Okay, so that is a solid statement. It without equivocation addresses who did this and then offers a solution to it. Now, is the solution more policing? I think it probably is some level of it. We still have to deal with the mental health crisis, which is what this is really about, and sort of a deeply spiritual thing, and the fact that everything has become so racialized. So most likely that guy did look at a white woman and was like, I'll kill her, and probably wouldn't have just killed a black woman. Like, I don't know that for a fact, but that's some of the stuff we have to start thinking about as these stories come out. I should be clear that I think I addressed this already, but it happened on a light rail train, not a bus. I think I said bus earlier and then cleaned it up. Here's Ben Shapiro. He was on Jesse Waters last night, illustrating the point of the hypocrisy when it comes to race.
Unfortunately, Jesse, I think it's perfectly obvious why the media deep sixes this particular story. And the answer is perfectly obvious when you look at the races of the people involved. If this had been a black victim and a white perpetrator, then it would have led the news nightly for months on end. You would have had riots in the streets. If it's the reverse situation, the media will completely ignore it because it doesn't match up with their preferred narrative of a white supremacist country that is cracking down on black people, even though statistically speaking, obviously, the vast majority of crime is intra-racial, meaning white on white or black on black. Black on white crime on a per capita basis is significantly higher than white on black crime. That does not match up with the media narrative about white supremacy in the United States.
Right. So as I said yesterday, when you put narrative above truth, if you're a journalist, you're supposed to be chasing the truth. You're supposed to be shining the light on something that is true. But if you put narrative over it, if you're an activist first, you'll see a story and you'll wait to talk about it to see if it fits your narrative. And if it doesn't fit your narrative, often you'll lie about it. That's the easy one, or you'll ignore it. And that's the situation we're in right now. So the media, which is now being forced into covering this, they don't want to cover this. Stelter made that very clear, right? This is MAGA basically forcing us to do it. It's because you're an activist, you're not a journalist. And the other part, of course, of all of this is that the Democratic Party, because they have for so many years now pushed false cries of racism from our founding to systemic stuff that does not exist and everything else, but they've so used that for so long, and they have ginned up so many people, they don't know a way out. This is then President, I cannot believe he was President, Joe Biden, after the George Floyd riots, and this is back in 2020, and listen to what he says here.
Why in this nation do too many black Americans wake up knowing that they could lose their life in the course of just living their life? Why does justice not roll like a river, nor righteousness like a mighty stream?
Just use that.
Why?
This part.
Okay, well, Joe, I get what you're doing there. You want to keep black people afraid of white people. It does turn out, we looked at some numbers this morning, and this is relative to what Will Cain was talking about. 87% of black people who are killed by other black people. About 8% of them are killed by white people. I don't care about the racial element of this, and I know you watching this doesn't either. You guys on the left and in the media have created this situation. You called us all racists when we weren't. Then we try to do something about law and order or care about some of the black people that are being killed in Chicago, let's say, and you call us racist for that. So the kerfuffle that we are in right now is completely on you. I want to say something personal as it pertains to all of this. This past weekend, I mentioned yesterday that I was at Sage Steele's wedding. Sage, her father I met him for the first time. We've Zoomed before and chatted. He's a great guy. He happens to be black. Her mom happens to be white. And for whatever genetic reason, Sage came out looking like a black woman. She is a black woman. Her skin is black, that's right, even though she has a white mother and a black father. Sage married a white guy. So there she is, the bride is black, and the groom is white. And at the wedding, there were white people and black people and everything else. I did not think about race once there. It was such an obvious celebration of love and people who had been meant to be together and took long roads to get there because they're getting remarried in their early 50s. And it had nothing to do with race. And the fact that you guys, the system, has put so much of this on us when the average person has just put this stuff aside, a Gen Xer right here, we put all of this shit aside. Nobody thought race was cool. And you guys, the progressives, you looked at everything through the intersectional lens and you brought back racism and put us in this position. I suppose I will give you a golf clap for doing exactly what you wanted to do. But you deserve an awful lot of criticism for how far you have taken America. But we're taking it back, I'm telling you. Anyway, let's talk about boner pills for a minute and then we'll do more on the other side. Guys, it's time to strut into the bedroom like your junk just got a VIP invite to the party. Blue Chew's chewable tablets are a motivational coach for your man parts, giving you harder, stronger, longer-lasting edge like your downstairs just chugged a protein shake and hit the weights. When you pop a Blue Chew tablet, your confidence will be so high that your shadow will call you Big Papa. It's not just sex. It's like your pelvis is auditioning for an action movie called The Boner Identity. Guys, this just isn't about performance. It's cementing your third legacy. Emphasis on leg. Who wrote this? Head on over to BlueChew.com to check out your options and level up your game. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. As always, get your first month of Blue Chew absolutely free. Just use promo code Rubin at checkout and pay $5 for shipping. That's it. Join Blue Chew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time. Head on over to BlueChew.com for details and safety info. And big thanks to Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast. Okay, so now that all of us racist MAGA right-wingers are showing you a video and letting you make your own decisions about it, the media is obviously finally covering the story, and now we're uncovering a lot more about it. This is absolutely wild. This is from Colin Rugg on Twitter. Report, Judge Teresa Stokes released Decarlos Brown just months before he stabbed Ukrainian refugee Iryna Zarutska because he wrote her a written promise. Remarkable. According to court documents, Stokes decided to release Brown because he promised her he would return for his court hearing. Brown has been arrested for the misuse of the 9/11 system, the 911 system, and claimed he had man-made material in his body and demanded an investigation. Prior to this incident, he had been arrested at least 14 times, including robbery with a dangerous weapon and physically assaulting his own sister, according to ABC6. Do you realize how insane this is? We showed you his mugshots yesterday. They were in the cold open today. 16 mugshots. He wrote a written letter basically saying, I'll come back. I'm a nice guy right now. And this judge let him off. There's a lot of people online talking now about what the punishment or penalty should be for these, and they're always activist, progressive judges who let these people just have a rotating in and out of the criminal justice system. And boy, by the way, the note, I'll come back, doesn't that sound an awful like of what we were doing with the border, right? We had all these people that would cross into the border and we would literally process them and say, will you come back? Will you come back for your hearing? Oh, and by the way, your hearing's not for 6 years. The level of stupidity and degradation they did to everything sane, again, it's extraordinary. That's the only word I can use about it. And by the way, now that this story is breaking forth, now a few other stories are with similar markers are breaking forth. This is from an ex-commentator, Because We Live Here. May 2025, Columbia, South Carolina. The other story is from North Carolina. Her name is Logan Federico, white 20-year-old female executed in her sleep by black career criminal, arrested 40 times. Why do we not know that girl's name? Why was Logan Federico, beautiful young woman right there, who was murdered by a guy who was arrested 40 fucking times? Why do we not know her name? Why didn't anyone say anything about that? Why am I just hearing about it yesterday for the first time? Elon saw that story and wrote this. He has already been arrested 40 times. Repeat violent offenders will eventually kill. Those who failed to prosecute and sentence the offenders are responsible. So that's the interesting part, sort of the secondary effect of all of this, beyond the original tragedy and the media ignoring it, is now people are starting to point at the judges. What kind of derelict judge lets somebody who's been arrested 40 times out? And here's another one, and this one just happened. This is from Charlie Kirk again. It happened again. Another white woman was hacked to death over the weekend for no apparent reason by a suspect who is black with multiple prior arrests, including illegal possession of a sawed-off shotgun and removing serial numbers from firearms in Virginia. Julie Gard Chanel, a former veterinary professor, had taken her dog for a walk in Auburn when the suspect, Harold Rashad Dabney III, allegedly murdered her by stabbing her and stole her truck before being arrested the next day. Her dog stayed by her side until her body was discovered. Once again, if the races were reversed, the outcry would be instantaneous and apocalyptic, and yet you're probably just hearing about this now. Yeah, I'm just hearing about this now. So that woman hacked to death, dog stayed with her side, another guy who had been arrested multiple times. When are we going to deal with this? And it's starting to become one of those things where you have to give the qualifier like, okay, trans people, you want to live as an adult, wear whatever dress you want, it's fine. It gets boring to say that over and over. It's sort of like this thing, like, I don't care about the race. It's you guys who care about the race. Here's Lady Eyelashes, this wizard, this genius, and listen, because the other thing that they've done, not only do Democrats not believe in sentencing properly and having this rotating door, basically you can just this circle where they can just come in and come out at the exact same time when you've done terrible things. We also know they believe in defunding the police or not sending the police to the areas that need it most. This is bananas. BANANA. What did what's her name say in that song? Was that Fergie who said that? This shit is, it's that. Go.
I want to be clear that, law enforcement isn't to prevent crime. Law enforcement solves crime, okay? That is what they are supposed to do. They are supposed to solve crimes, not necessarily prevent them from happening, per se.
I should have done September too. We should have rolled it into September. Lady, law enforcement. What does the word enforce mean? It's law enforcement isn't there to prevent crimes. Actually, that is what they're there. They're there to enforce the law. When someone commits a crime, yes, it is part of their job, and there's several agencies that deal with catching the culprit, but law enforcement is there to make sure people don't do that. Actually, thank you, Joseph. We have the definition from the Merriam-Webster dictionary of the word enforce. It's a verb. It's to compel observance or compliance with a law, a rule, or an obligation. So I don't know if the glue that they are putting your eyelashes on is seeping into your brain, but you are an idiot. Stephen Miller, spokesman for the White House, here the guy's kind of, there's like a certain coldness to him, but you can't argue when it comes to facts in Stephen Miller. Watch.
The Democrat Party, Sean, is terrorizing the American people. Just think about what is happening in our major cities, the bloodbaths every single weekend. One victim after another, one shooting after another, one murder after another. When you have Democrat politicians like Pritzker and Newsom that are freeing illegal alien pedophiles, illegal alien child abductors, illegal alien murderers back into our streets, to kidnap people, to beat them senseless, to stab them and shoot them to death. This is terrorism being waged against the American people.
Yeah, it is. It is your right as a citizen in America. Remember life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. When it gets tough to pursue happiness? It gets tough when you're riding a bus and you get stabbed and murdered. What the founders wanted to do was set up a country that would get the government away from you enough so that you could pursue happiness. It's one of the most incredible phrases ever put into a document ever. We can't guarantee it, but you can try it. You will have a chance to do something on this world. We will create the conditions so maybe you can try to do something fulfilling. Whether that's raising a huge family, whether that's becoming a major business entrepreneur, whether it's a little bit of both, whether it's chasing your dream to be a baseball player or working in a shoe store, it doesn't matter. But we create the conditions to pursue happiness. And what the Democrats have done by not allowing for systems to be put into place that take care of the basics. We don't want a lot out of government, but what we do want is we don't want murderers wandering the streets. We don't want people who do awful things to be just let back out. All of that stuff. We want proper policing. We don't want over-policing. We want proper policing so these things don't happen. And they have destroyed so much in our blue cities that yes, now we are at a position where we have one political party that is wildly out of control and one political party that's then being forced to use the federal government to clean up the cities. If Donald Trump was not doing this, those cities would continue to crumble. They may continue to crumble either way. We're going to switch to New York City in just a second. But it's not like Donald Trump is sending the feds into Miami. And why isn't he doing it? Because Miami has proper policing. Why isn't he sending the feds into any red city? Well, there aren't that many red big cities, actually. That's a problem that I would say city dwellers have to think about, because they seem to want big government, and then it makes everything worse. But all right, you get the point. Let's talk about Chapter for a minute, and then we'll talk about New York City, where things are about to get much, much worse. If you or a loved one are on Medicare or turning 65 soon, you need to hear this. Medicare enrollment is complicated and misinformation is everywhere. The more confused you are, the easier it is for scammers to push you into overpriced plans that make them money while pretending they're unbiased. In fact, Trump's Department of Justice recently sued 3 of the biggest Medicare brokers in America for allegedly doing exactly that. And the victims? Everyday Americans like you. That's why I trust Chapter. Chapter's advisors make Medicare simple and always put you first. They listen carefully, compare every plan, and help you find the most savings. On average, they save people $1,100. And here's the best part. They'll never push you towards one plan over another. If you're already on the right plan, they'll tell you honestly instead of trying to switch you for their own gain. So take control of your Medicare coverage with guidance you can trust. Call Chapter today at 332-867-0207. Most people say they wish they'd called sooner. Okay, so let's jump over to New York City. As you know, it is very likely that a full-on socialist, what you can call him socialist, you can call him communist, you can call him Marxist, you can call him whatever the hell you want. He's not a good dude, and he's a complete fraud and fakester. He is likely going to be mayor very soon. We'll get to that in just a second. But this video is going viral, and we've just illustrated that several white women, they happen to be white, have been murdered in recent places, and that's not very good. Here's a New York City woman who fortunately did not get murdered, but she was trying to ride the subway and a man was following her, and she illustrates perfectly what the problem is.
I don't even know what to say at this point. I had to get off the train past my stop because there was a guy who was following me from car to car, and when I tried to get off at my stop, which was pitch dark, typical, he held it open to see if I was going to get off. So I had to get off the stop after. And then when I got off the stop after, I hopped on the next train that was going the other direction, and I got on an express train, and now I'm back on the other side of the tracks. Hold on. New York City is not safe. It's not safe for women, okay? I wonder so sick and tired of having to look over my shoulder 24/7, not just at night, during the day, at all hours. I'm sick and tired of it.
So Brian Stelter, now she didn't get killed, ... yet. Why don't you care about that? Why is it that you people only care when Donald Trump does something about the situation that is becoming unlivable, untenable for people of New York City? Might I recommend to that woman, leave New York City. The signal has been sent. It is about to go down and you should leave. It is going to get much, much worse. Why and how do we know it is going to get much, much worse? Zohran Mamdani, a socialist, who said, the video that we showed you last week was incredible. He said, I won't be the first Democrat socialist elected in New York City. We had David Dinkins. Yes, David Dinkins, who destroyed New York City. And he uses that as the example of a Democrat socialist. David Dinkins is the man who was between Ed Koch, who was a fabulous mayor, mostly in the 80s in New York City. Then they had 4 years of David Dinkins, who was an utter disaster. That's when all of the horror stories of New York City and how horrible Times Square was and all of that stuff, that's when that happened. And then they brought in, thank God, Rudy Giuliani to clean up the whole freaking thing. But Zohran uses David Dinkins. Well, we did it once before. How did that work out? And if there were any decent journalists out there, they might want to be asking him about that. Anyway, here he is talking about how he wants to abolish the New York City police officers database that identifies suspected gang members. This has been in standing for a long, long time. And here he is with his, he whispers sort of, he has that affect. It's all a polished act that will lead to the destruction of New York City. Go.
Let me ask you about a bunch of different policies just to kind of get your thinking out there. If city council legislation to abolish the NYPD gang database were to pass, would you support and sign that?
I have supported that proposal. It's one I've supported because of the vast dragnet has meant the inclusion of New Yorkers on the basis of whether they go out late, photos they put on social media, so much of the facts of life of being a young New Yorker. And yet it then becomes a mark of suspicion.
He's evil. He is so, this is evil. We are confronting it right now. It is about to take over New York City. The question was about the database that New York City keeps on gang members. What he says is he basically says they've put people on there because they go out later on social media. I don't think there's any evidence of that. But if you were in New York City with all of the mayhem and crime and murder and, I don't know, say a woman that's being chased on the subway, et cetera, wouldn't you want a database so that if someone's up to something, they're doing something nefarious, I don't know, chasing a young woman around the subway, and then they get arrested or they get pulled aside by a cop. That guy seems like he's up to no good. Wouldn't you want, as they have this man in detention, to be able to look to a database and be like, oh, it turns out he's in MS-13. Turns out he's been up to some other bad things. But this guy wants the destruction of New York City. And why do socialists want the destruction of the city? They want the destruction of the city so that it will be so bad for so many people that they will so be desperate for help that they will then turn to him. So he will gain power. This is socialism 101. They also are always focused on the bad guys, right? They're never focused on the good people or the victims. It's always the bad guys that they're most concerned about. Here he is talking about how he's going to reduce the jail population. It's just so great. Watch.
The jail population of Rikers has increased since Eric Adams has come into office by more than 1,000 additional incarcerated New Yorkers. And what is quite staggering to me is that we know that we can reduce that jail population to less than 4,000. I mean, Vital City had an article about a number of different proposals that could reduce it to 3,700. And some of this also just has to look at the average stay on Rikers in the 90s was 50 days. Now it's more than 100. There are more than 1,500 people on Rikers who have been held there for more than a year. So I do think many of the reforms that have to be made are also reforms around the court system.
Man, once you see through them, everything becomes so easy to dissect. It's ridiculous. So he's upset that 1,000 more people are at Rikers under Eric Adams. He never says that those people don't deserve to be there. Is anyone at Rikers that doesn't deserve to be there? He never says, oh, they've got a bunch of good guys there. He never says it. What he's concerned about is the number. And then what does he do? The perfect thing that all lefties do. Well, there are several studies that say we could get the population to under 3,700. Okay, you're randomly picking a number. Who cares what the studies say? We could get the number to 3,700. Are these bad people? Oh, and then he's also concerned they're staying there too long. Okay, what have they done? Have they done bad things? I have not heard one story of someone who's stuck at Rikers Island right now, who's been there a little bit too long, who is actually a good guy. Okay, so yes, criminals are going to Rikers Island, and sometimes they're staying there a little bit long. How about, Zohran, how about you talk about all of the people, like my mother-in-law, God bless her, who still lives in New York City. She's moving to Florida, thank God, but who does not use the subway anymore for the exact reasons that that lady said. You don't care about the law-abiding citizens. You simply do not care about them. So what are you going to do? Well, you're going to raise taxes on the rich so you can have your new Department of Community Safety. Yeah, that's right. He's going to raise taxes on New Yorkers for $1 billion to fund a new Department of Community Safety. He needs $1 billion to do that. Can we do some math here? If he so he's going to raise $1 billion. Okay. Let's say let's say it was a $100,000 gig for these like asexual social workers to be part of the Department of Community Safety. That means you could have 10,000 of them. So you'd have 10,000 people running around. Oh my God, I'm making $100,000 and I'm going to keep you safe. Mamdani hired me. And oh, you just beheaded that guy? Why did you do that? You're supposed to give head, not behead. Like that's where we're at, guys. That's what they're going to do. It is completely and utterly absurd. I cannot be more clear about this. If you live in New York City and you are a sane person, particularly if you're Jewish, but it's not just Jewish. If you have any means, if you're a landlord, you must leave now. They're going to fake it for about a year. It's going to look pretty good. And then there will be pogroms. They are instituting class warfare. Go watch Dark Knight Rises. We're at the end. We're at the end with the freaking scarecrow with his clown courts and Bane giving the people back to the city. And they're going to be ripping people out of their apartments on Fifth Avenue. Am I generally an alarmist on the show? I don't think so. I think I'm the complete reverse. But if you can't see what's happening right now, it's completely ridiculous. And speaking of ridiculous, do you remember January 6th? I remember I had scrambled eggs that morning. I had delicious, that was the day that I had just switched over. I'd been doing eggs with olive oil, and I switched back to real butter that morning, Irish grass-fed butter, and I had some scrambled eggs, and I had a little bit of orange juice. And then I was watching TV, and people were freaking out because a few people with a Lego set or something showed up at the Capitol. Anyway, the Democrats, what are they doing? They're still doing the January 6th thing, these people. Here's Timu Obama talking about his new Avengers team that he's assembled to start looking into January 6th again. I'm going to bash my head on the table while we watch this. You go ahead.
It's my honor to designate Congressman Eric Swalwell as the ranking member, the lead Democrat on this subcommittee. And the House Democratic Caucus will be in good hands with Congressman Swalwell, with Representative Jasmine Crockett, and Representative Jared Moskowitz, all with the steady hand of Ranking Member Jamie Raskin. I yield now to my good friend, the Congressman from the great state of California, Eric Swalwell.
Since the Civil War, what are the three most important dates in American history? December 7, 1941, September 11, and January 6. The last two, I didn't even have to give you the years because they are seared into our memories.
I'm gonna need some ice. Can we get something from the fridge? All right, Timu Obama. First off, the fact that they're even doing this again, we've already been through this. We've been through two sham impeachments. Like, these people need, again, it's like, how do you even wake up in the morning and go be public? How do you do it? How do you have the gall to do it? By the way, Timu Obama, the guy you threw to right there, Eric Swalwell, literally slept with a Chinese spy and everyone knows it. The woman you're throwing to with the fake eyelashes is retarded. The other two guys haven't had a boner since 1982. These are not the best of the best. Oh, and Eric Swalwell, he's very concerned about the three dates in American history. Do we have an image that might illustrate how stupid he is? Pearl Harbor, 2,403 American deaths. September 11th, 2,977 deaths. On January 6th, there were 5 dead. 4 of them were protesters, and 1 was an officer who turned out died of a heart attack, actually. To compare these things is completely absurd, and to the backdrop of all of the things we've been talking about that are happening in the country and in our cities, the idea that they're spending 1 minute on this is completely ridiculous. But ridiculous is baked into the party. And now let's jump up north, because up in Canada, I saw this video last week. It's just incredible, just incredible. Decline is a choice, guys. It's up to you whether you want to live in a place that's declining or not. And it's up to you to fight for that place or move to a place where you can flourish and, I don't know, pursue your happiness. Listen to this Canadian police chief on what you should do if someone breaks into your home.
In the unlikely event that you find yourself the victim of a home invasion, we are urging citizens not to take matters into their own hands. While we don't want homeowners to feel powerless, we urge you to call 911 and do everything you can to keep yourself and loved ones safe until police arrive, and be the best witness possible. This could mean locking yourself in a room away from the perpetrators, hiding, fleeing the home, but don't engage unless absolutely necessary. But as it stands, we know the best defense for most people is to comply.
Actually, you know what? The best defense is you shoot that motherfucker in the head if they enter your home. I have several AR-15s here, a Glock, we've got a couple handguns, and yes, we have great policing here in Florida, but you can't always wait. Comply? Can you imagine, comply? So a guy walks into your house, he's got a gun, suck my dick. So you're gonna just blow the guy for a half hour. The police, are the police coming? It's fucking absurd. It's absolutely absurd. I live in Florida, and you may remember this video. This is the police as a sheriff over in Santa Rosa, Florida, explaining how we do it over here.
As to the person, we don't know which homeowner shot at him, I guess they think that they did something wrong, which they did not. If somebody's breaking in your house, you're more than welcome to shoot them in Santa Rosa County. We prefer that you do, actually. So whoever that was, you're not in trouble. Come see us. We have a gun safety class we put on every other Saturday. And if you take that, you'll shoot a lot better, and hopefully you'll save the taxpayers money.
We would prefer it. And which place is flourishing? Which place actually has all of the Canadian snowbirds? These are the people, because it's pretty cold up there in Canada. In their winters, they come on down here to enjoy our beautiful weather and our freedom and all that good stuff. And now many of them are not going back. They're going to have an immigration. Trump's going to have to deal with them too. We're going to be arresting Canadians soon enough, because you have a police chief in Canada who's saying, just be a bitch. Someone breaks into your house, just listen to them. Be a bitch. And here in Florida, you're going to take care of your business. And how does that extrapolate over a society and make things safer overall? It's the thing I'm always mentioning. I like those Lululemon workout shirts. I find them light and refreshing, very nice to wear. Now, in certain cities like New York, I could just walk into Lululemon and just take one. And they'd probably open the door for me and pat my ass on the way out and say, thank you very much. And I wouldn't pay, and okay, have a nice day. Well, I had to do it. You know, I just felt like doing it. What are you gonna do? Or you're allowed to steal $800 worth of stuff. So you can go into a Best Buy, snag a PS5, NBA 2K, give me another, what's a hot game these days? They got, Call of Duty, several other things. But if you crack that $801, then you're in trouble. But here in Florida, if I was to walk into Lululemon and take a shirt, not only would most likely the security guard at the door punch me or tackle me, but someone, if I walked out and I started running, someone might just shoot me, so I'm less inclined to do it. So it creates a culture of safety and freedom and the ability for people to do business with each other in an honest way. We will talk about a crazy lunatic who's on a LARPing fishing trip in just a moment, but first, Rumble Premium. This episode is brought to you by Rumble Premium, the home of free speech and exclusive content from Voices That Matter. With Rumble Premium, you get ad-free viewing, access to exclusive shows, and premium features across the platform. We're talking about Steven Crowder's Mug Club, Tim Pool's Timcast, and Russell Brand's Raw Commentary, plus tons of other bold creators you won't find anywhere else. Whether it's breaking news, real talk, or the content that challenges the narrative, Rumble Premium puts you in the front row. Support creators who actually say what they mean and mean what they say. Go to rumble.com/premium/Rubin to join today. That's rumble.com/premium/Rubin, because the truth shouldn't come with a filter. So climate cunt Greta Thunberg, she's back. You may remember she took a boat ride to Israel while she was trying to go to Gaza, and they decided not to let her in with her LARPing revolutionaries. And then they gave her some schnitzel and some shawarma. You can't come here. You're a terrorist. You're a horrible person. Go home. And they put her on a plane. She went home. She looked grumpy the whole time. Anyway, she's back on the boat with her loser friends. And listen to this from the Daily Mail. Thunberg is part of a controversial convoy of around 350 activists and aid workers sailing on what they describe as a peaceful mission to deliver supplies to Palestinians in Gaza. She added that the ship, which was sailing in Tunisian waters, carried many of the same people who were detained with Greta on an earlier attempt to reach Gaza in June. So these are people who maybe they just really enjoy Israeli hummus. They're just like, you know what, why don't we take a ride through the Mediterranean? Doesn't sound that terrible. The Israelis are going to pick us up. They're literally going to make us a shawarma sandwich and send us back on a plane. Now, people have noted that Greta Thunberg has started to morph into, well, take a look. This is from Ollie London on X. Greta Thunberg gets roasted on X and compared to He-Man with new haircut. She's literally morphing into probably my favorite childhood TV show. Yes, maybe even more than Transformers and G.I. Joe, because this came out a little bit earlier, around 1983. I was 7 or 8 years old, and I had a ton of the toys, and I had Castle Grayskull too. She's turning into, I mean, that is one, she looks trans. She looks like a dude. She looks like Chris Farley, sort of putting on a wig. I don't know what's going on there. Then this is even better. Listen to this from Benny Johnson. Breaking. The global Samud Flotilla for Gaza says that one of its main boats was hit by a drone in Tunisian waters. That looks scary. We'll have more on that in a second. The Portuguese-flagged vessel connected to the Madeleine boat that carried Greta was carrying the steering committee members. The strike damaged the deck and storage areas, but everyone on board is safe. And here's someone on the boat, her name is Jasmine, saying that Greta was on the boat when the drone dropped a bomb. Stay tuned for the real headline. Here they are after the bombing.
Hi everyone,
of the
Jasmine
boat.
Here. The family boat has been officially attacked. A drone came right above it, released a bomb, and it exploded and the boat was on fire. Everyone on that boat is okay.
And yeah, it turns out that never happened. Actually, what did happen, listen to this from Eyal Yacobi. Breaking, Greta Thunberg claimed her boat was struck by a drone. Tunisian authorities confirmed there was zero drone activity in the area. Turns out a crew member set off a firecracker and blamed a drone. Another lie to the long list of Palestinian propaganda. They literally set off a flare. There's video of it. We didn't grab it right before the show, but you can see the result. Someone on the boat set off a flare that landed in the boat. This is what we are dealing with these crazy people. Let's end the show on the sort of mental state of the country, because obviously we have a lot of lunatics, but we have way more good people, decent people who are trying to slog through the whole thing and figure out how to pursue that happiness and live a good life and all of those things. But unfortunately, because of so much of the media lies and allowing the institutions to go to the left and confuse young people and everything else, their priorities are seriously out of whack, and a major study is now confirming that. This also from Charlie Kirk. Listen to this. Gen Z men who voted for Trump say their top two issues are having children and financial independence. Gen Z women who voted for Kamala say career and having money are most important. They ranked having children 12th. Total shocker that so many liberal women are depressed. And look at those numbers right there. So if you just dive in a little bit deeper, men who voted for Trump, okay, Gen Z, so these are young men who likely don't have children yet, but what's their number one priority? It's to be a father, it's to raise a family, et cetera, 34%. We're diving a little closer. Financial independence, that's also pretty good. A fulfilling job and career, that's obviously very important. Being married, that might want to connect that to number one, but okay, that's pretty good. Having money, owning a home, these are all important things, right? And it's interesting, they say having emotional stability is on the bottom. I wonder what Jordan Peterson would say about that, but that's pretty solid. Using talents and resources to help others. But now the women who voted for Harris, and this really seems to be the divide in the country. Young women who have been sold the lies of feminism, they think the number one thing is to have a fulfilling job or career, and you can see where only 6% of them, it's at the bottom, they say is having children, and right above that is being married. So they are way more concerned with having a career and have the money to do things they want and all of those things. Ironically, having emotional stability is the third, and they're the least emotionally stable people that we know of. And this is all because of the lies they were sold. So when we see these hysterical lunatics, when we see the gender queers for Hamas and all of these things, it's because they have been brainwashed. And thankfully, something interesting is happening in the country. There is something fundamental to being a human. When things go wackadoodle out there, something about humanity brings things back to the center. So if the boomer generation held on too long and ultimately sort of failed us in some sense, and then the Gen X thing, which is me, so this is the people in their 40s into like late 50s, if we didn't grab on as much as we should have, I think we're sort of doing it now. But if we didn't, and we failed to some extent because we grew up in a time when things were so freaking good that we didn't even realize it. Let's even go with that if that is an argument to be made. Well, then suddenly the young people of today who've grown up in the chaos of all of that, they're suddenly realizing what is real and what is important. Here's Jordan Peterson talking to James Lindsay a couple months ago, talking about the liberal version of this, why so many of these women have gone so crazy and the results of believing in this progressive ideology.
Women 18 to 34 have political opinions that are way off center compared to everyone else. Plus, they're dreadfully miserable. Well, they get 80% of their news from TikTok, and TikTok is a bot farm fundamentally.
Yeah.
And the algorithms are designed to produce exactly the kind of upsetting pathology that characterizes female voters between the ages of 18 to 34.
Well, I mean, this is why woke is so female coded. Everybody kind of wonders, what in the world is critical race theory? Why is it so female coded? It's because every bit of what we call woke on the left passed through feminism to mainstream.
Yeah.
So it was all built off of pathological women trying to figure out how to pathologize young women to join their club.
Yeah.
That's interesting stuff, right? It gets to the heart of so much of what's going on here. Why is there a certain set of hysterical people? And what is happening with young people who are handed a phone instead of proper parenting? And I see this all the time. Like, I see this as the great challenge. I have two sons, but I see the great challenge of being a parent is how are you going to manage there are many great challenges, but I would say the great challenge in like a societal sense is how are you going to manage your child's connection to the online world? And in some way, you can't blame anybody for this because no one knew how to do it. A parent, you see this all the time. You go to a restaurant, right? And you see two parents sitting there with three kids, and three kids all have the iPads. And the parent just went out to dinner because they want to enjoy a little bit of peace, maybe connect with their spouse for a moment, and they could not do it the other way. Now, you can blame it, you can blame the educational system, but we have all of these things coupled with an education system that was completely co-opted by the left and told people that the country is racist and that we live in a patriarchy and white people are bad and blah, blah. And then you wonder, or I guess you don't wonder, why so many things went awry. So let's end the show on this. Arthur Brooks, who is a professor of public leadership at the Harvard Kennedy School, but he's a good one over at Harvard. I interviewed him at ARC in London a couple months back, and he'll be here in studio, I think in November. He's a wonderful speaker and really does a lot. He does sort of like I would say it's Jordan Peterson-esque in that the themes are the same, but he really focuses on what will give you purpose, what will make you happy and give you purpose. And I thought this would be a nice way to end today's show.
The happiest people, they do 4 things every day, okay? They practice their faith, they are close to their families, they have friends, real friends, not deal friends, real friends. and they take their work seriously, which is, of course, your bailiwick. This is your kettle of fish. And they get meaning from their work, which really comes from feeling like they're earning their success, creating value, and serving other people. Those 4 things are the secrets to the happiest life.
So look, faith, family, friends, and work. Now, he didn't say which faith you have to have, right? Like you can practice that, whatever that means to you. I think the easiest way to say it, or the sort of blanket way, without telling you, oh, you have to be a practicing Christian or you have to be an Orthodox Jew or something like that, is you have to figure out what your connection to reality, to deep reality is, right? You have to think about that. That's important to think about at some point during the day, at the very least. And then some people will have traditions that back that up, or they will read passages from the Bible or whatever it might be. Family, I mean, yeah, everyone knows it. Everyone knows. At the end, when you're like meeting your maker, is anyone like, boy, I'm so thrilled that I didn't have a family? Like, of course not. Friends, have real friends, not transactional friends, like real human beings who you want to see, who you're proud to like be on the adventure of life with, and then have value in your work. Care about your work. Like if you could do all those things, that's the force field against all of the bad forces out there. If you have all of those things, then probably that poll that we just showed you that had the females who voted for Kamala particularly had all of their priorities out of whack, it would probably reorder all of it if they focused on those things. So that's where we're at. And you can see it starts with you, and then we can fix society. How about that? Quick reminder, I'm going to Australia, daverubin.com/events. We're going to have a good old time. And I'll be wandering out there in the streets of Australia. Maybe I'm going to get in a kangaroo in a pouch and go from, let's say, Adelaide to Sydney. Can that be? Has anyone ever done that before? In the pouch of a... I did it once, apparently. Thank you for watching. I've enjoyed the show. I hope you did too. Post-game show in just moments. RubinReport.locals.com. See you tomorrow.
How you doing, sir? Good. Can we talk to you? Where are you from? You live in New York?
Who are you?
Don Lemon.
You're a moron, dude.
Thank you. So are you. Yeah.